Good evening. It took 7 years and cost £700 million, but Bank Station's transformation is finally complete. The opening of the new Cannon Street entrance is the final milestone in a complex project that began back in 2016. The upgrade includes step-free access, 6 new escalators and an increased capacity of 40%. But with TfL still barely able to make ends meet, Sadiq Khan has warned it could be the last time the network is updated for a while, as our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
It's taken 7 years and £700 million, but Bank Station is finally finished. The mammoth upgrade has delivered new escalators and lifts, a new platform on the Northern Line and a brand new entrance on Cannon Street. For the first time, Bank boasts step-free access, and this busy city station can now handle 40% more passengers. But London's mayor is worried Bank might be a turning point.
I worry unless the government invests in public transport in London, we could have no more great exciting projects like this opening. We have got new trains coming on the Piccadilly line, new trains on the DLR. What we're trying to impress on the government is if you don't invest and stand still, you go backwards.
In the last 18 months, billions of pounds of investment have delivered the Northern Line extension to Battersea, the opening of the Elizabeth Line, a game changer for many commuters, and the overground extension to Barking Riverside. The upgrade to Bank Station marks the end, for now, of big-ticket civil engineering projects on London's commuter rail network. TfL has a wish list for the future, but nothing in the pipeline. That's because TfL needed £6 billion in government bailouts after the COVID pandemic caused a collapse in passenger numbers. And tighter budgets mean it's not just big schemes which are on hold. Disability campaigners like Shani are frustrated that more step-free stations are also a casualty.
I'm a wheelchair user and I can't access that station, but then neither can someone who perhaps is a parent and they've got a pushchair, or somebody who's going to the airport with luggage. So it just comes back to this point that when you remove barriers for disabled people, everybody benefits.
Like other stations in the city, Bank has yet to see a return to pre-COVID commuter levels.
We're still around about 70% of ridership in the City of London stations on the Tube network, which is lower than the rest of the network, where we're about 85%. I hope that this station improvements will encourage people to come back to the city.
Matt, who runs a coffee stall next to Bank, hopes so too.
I go through phases of thinking it will be really busy, and other times when it might take a bit of a while for people to find me just round the corner. But I think the footfall would be better.
The Department for Transport said its latest funding deal for TfL included £3.6 billion for major projects. But TfL pointed out they're all underway, and right now there's nothing new coming down the line. Simon Harris, ITV News, Bank.
Good evening. A huge search is underway for a missing 2-month-old baby after Constance Martin and her boyfriend Mark Gordon from Eltham were arrested last night after more than 7 weeks on the run. Their car was found burning on a motorway in Bolton in early January, and since then they've been spotted in Liverpool, London and Essex. After a tip-off from the public, police tracked them down in Brighton, but the baby wasn't with them. Police now fear that it hasn't survived out in the elements, alone and in freezing temperatures, and have arrested the couple on suspicion of manslaughter. Here's our correspondent Simon Harris with the latest.
Shortly after daybreak, Met police officers began to search allotments on the edge of Brighton. This was a desperate hunt for a baby believed to be less than 2 months old. Officers looked in sheds and wheelie bins, under tarpaulins and cold frames and in greenhouses. Could this be where Constance Martin and Mark Gordon were living rough with the infant? There was still hope the baby was alive. But then this afternoon, the couple were arrested on suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter.
As time progresses, as the weather is closing tonight, as it was last night, in terms of the coldness and the impact that would have on a baby, clearly the risk is getting higher, and we have to be open to the fact that this may not end in the way we would like.
Constance Martin and Mark Gordon left their home at Eltham in South London in September. The alarm was raised on January the 5th when their car broke down on the M61 near Farnworth in Greater Manchester and caught fire. In the following days, they took a taxi to Liverpool and then Essex, before being seen in London, first in East Ham and then Brick Lane, where the baby's pushchair was dumped. On January the 8th, CCTV cameras revealed they were at Newhaven in Sussex. 16 miles away, and 19 days later, they were arrested in Brighton.
Throughout the 7-week hunt for the couple, they managed to stay one step ahead of the police. They made every effort to cover their tracks, travelling by taxi, hiding their faces from CCTV cameras and avoiding hotels. But last night, detectives got lucky. The couple were recognised by a member of the public in a street close to the allotments.
People living nearby were quickly aware of police activity in the darkness, which lasted all night.
We heard a police helicopter overhead last night for a while, quite late, and then we were aware of the breaking news. We checked our garden and shed.
The allotments occupy a small valley. There are dozens and dozens of assorted greenhouses and huts. Local people said someone taking shelter in a shed wouldn't stand out.
I think it will be quite possible to live in the shed. Most of them have got heating of some kind and a little gas cooker of some kind, because people, when it's raining, spend time in their shed if they're out working there.
Although the couple are in custody and being questioned, it's not clear whether they're answering questions. The police still don't know if the baby they're looking for is a boy or a girl. Tonight, more than 200 officers are still searching. Simon Harris, ITV News, Brighton.
Good evening. We start tonight with breaking news, and police are about to make a significant announcement in the hunt for a missing baby. Earlier, the Metropolitan Police said the chances of finding the 2-month-old alive were getting slimmer by the hour. Specialist teams today turned their attention to a new area of Brighton after the baby's parents, Constance Martin and Mark Gordon, were arrested. They went missing in early January. Police are expected to give an update in the next half an hour, but first, this report by Simon Harris, who has been following that search.
The chances of finding the baby alive get slimmer by the hour, but there was no let-up in the police search. Sniffer dogs were being used in the street where Constance Martin and Mark Gordon were arrested on Monday. They're still in custody and apparently giving no help to the police.
I can confirm that Constance Martin and Mark Gordon remain in police custody here in Sussex. An application for the extension of their detention for a further 36 hours has been sought from Brighton Magistrates Court. The police searches of the baby continue, and we must consider that the baby has to come to serious harm.
Attention focused once again on a large allotment on the edge of Brighton. Every shed and greenhouse has had to be checked, even if it meant forcing open the door. Detectives suspect the couple have been living in a blue tent bought from a shop in East London.
So we saw a blue tent just here.
Claire, who lives near to the search area, saw a similar tent at the end of last week.
The other day I was on top of the hill walking along the ridge, and then my partner pointed out and said, "Oh, what's that tent doing there?" And it was a blue tent, which is strange because you don't see, obviously, people wild camping around here. So I came back today to see what the latest was in this sad story, and then reported the sighting to a policeman.
Same as before, 3 and 3. Just worked your way down the tree line.
Earlier, we joined a team of Met Police officers as they began to scour open land on the South Downs. Their first task was to walk the tree line, searching through the undergrowth.
This is police work at its most painstaking and methodical. There are miles of bushes and brambles to search, a huge area to cover. It's also very cold.
As the two teams of 8 joined up to walk in a line across a field, they were approached by a woman who lives nearby. She too had seen a blue tent.
On the weekend, I saw a blue tent by here.
Information like this might be crucial. It might be a red herring. Only time will tell. But in this investigation, time is a precious commodity.
The longer it takes, the less positive outcome there will be. So the police will prioritise on questioning the mother and father separately, asking them for information. If we had that information, we would have detected the baby. So it is very, very troubling the longer this takes.
Unless there's a significant development overnight, the search teams will be back tomorrow.
Yeah, Simon, bring us up to date. What are the latest developments then?
Well, Duncan, throughout the day, the focus of attention has been the area in and around Brighton and those allotments and that road where the couple were arrested on Monday night. But within the last hour, as you can see behind me, members of the media news teams have been asked to come to the headquarters of Sussex Police in the nearby town of Lewes, where a significant announcement is expected in the next
half an hour. We don't know what that is yet, but earlier today we heard from Detective Superintendent Basford that there was serious concern that the baby had come to serious harm. And this afternoon we learnt that close to one of the search areas on the South Downs, scenes of crimes officers from London had been summoned. So something possibly has been found there, but we're not sure at the moment. We await developments here at Lewes tonight.
Yes, Simon, in Lewes, thank you. And I'm sure any developments there in Lewes will be updated on the ITV Evening News after this programme. Thank you. Police searching for a missing 2-month-old have found the remains of a baby. The Met have been scouring land near Brighton after the arrest of the baby's parents on Monday. Constance Martin and Mark Gordon had avoided police for more than 7 weeks, with growing concerns for their newborn who might need medical attention. Simon Harris joined officers searching in Brighton today, and then he sent us this update.
Throughout the day, it was increasingly clear hopes of finding the baby alive were fading. The detective in charge of the investigation said police had to consider the infant had come to serious harm. Met Police search teams focused their efforts this morning and this afternoon on an area of open space and woodland close to where Constance Martin and Mark Gordon were arrested on Monday night. Then this evening came the news everyone had feared.
It is my very sad duty to update this afternoon. Police officers searching a wooded area close to where Constance and Mark Gordon were arrested discovered the remains of a baby.
Tonight, Constance Martin and Mark Gordon are in custody on suspicion of killing a child through neglect, an offence known as gross negligence manslaughter.
Good evening. Someone is at risk of being killed because of overcrowding at London Bridge Station. That was a warning from Sir Bob Neill in the Commons today. The Tory MP for Bromley and Chislehurst said delays on South Eastern services and infrastructure failures by Network Rail were causing chaos. And there was agreement from across the benches too when Labour MP Clive Efford said his train was so overcrowded it caused someone in his carriage to faint. Our political correspondent Simon Harris reports.
At some point, somebody will get injured or killed as a result of this. Injured or killed as a result of this. Injured or killed as a result of this.
It was a stark warning from an MP who has seen for himself what happens when London Bridge Station struggles to cope with crowds. It happened again on Tuesday when a signal failure caused cancellations and delays.
It was crazy. I hadn't seen anything like that in my 3 years living in London. And I was I appreciate England being reliable on trains, even though they're expensive. But just seeing that, I was like, I'm avoiding this station for the foreseeable future.
Many commuters and their MPs claim timetable changes introduced by South Eastern in December are partly to blame. Commuters at some suburban stations discovered they could no longer get a through train to Charing Cross. Others found their train to Cannon Street no longer existed. For all of them, it meant changing trains at London Bridge. And that, according to MPs, is the problem.
Unsustainable numbers of people are having to change trains at London Bridge. I've seen the chaos there. I've actually stood outside the station because it had to be closed on occasions. It's not safe, Minister. At some point, somebody will get injured or killed as a result of this.
What we've got here is that the system has been cut back to the point where there is no slack in it. Whenever there's a delay, there is dangerous overcrowding. And the Minister has got to address that before something serious happens to an individual.
Tuesday night's scenes at London Bridge were a mirror of what happened a month earlier. Again, there was disruption to the evening rush hour. Crowds built up, forcing Network Rail to limit numbers on the platforms. Some commuters said they were frightened of being crushed. The Rail Minister told MPs some trains axed in December would now be reinstated.
The timetable change was brought in to try and add more resilience, to reduce cancellations, but we have got issues with regard to Network Rail, infrastructure, and of course we have industrial action. All of those matters I seek to resolve.
Network Rail defended its crowd management at London Bridge. A spokesperson said it's far safer to keep people on the concourse than on platforms. South Eastern said the new timetable reflected post-Covid travel patterns, but it's left many commuters unhappy and at times frightened for their safety.
Well, Simon, the Minister has promised to resolve this. What's going to happen?
Well, the government's already set up a joint task force involving Network Rail and South Eastern, which has recommended some extra trains and some longer trains. But the Minister also said TfL would be consulted for advice on how it deals with overcrowding on the tube. Those MPs with constituencies served by South Eastern are almost certainly going to keep up the pressure on the government to reinstate the old timetable. And this issue at London Bridge and South Eastern has brought fresh calls from some quarters for the whole of the capital's commuter rail network to be taken off the government and given to the mayor.
All right, Simon, thank you.